Imagine a test, a simple nationwide exam designed to check if a person can read, write, and perform basic mathematics. It's called the FLNAT. Recently, the Indian government administered this test to millions of adults across the country. The results were grim. The nation average for passing this exam hovered around just 19%. But then, the officials looked at one specific state, a state where more than 5 lakh people took the same test, and the result wasn't 19%, it wasn't 50%. Every single one passed. 100% success rate. This is Tamil Nadu, a state that doesn't just break Indian records, it breaks global ones. While the rest of India grows at 6.5%, Tamil Nadu just clocked a staggering 11.19% GDP growth. To put that into perspective, the single state's economy is now roughly the size of the entire nation of Pakistan. Globally, 1 out of every 5 iPhones is now made in India, and 80% of those come from this one state. BMW, Hyundai, Stellantis, Dell, they're all here. Now you might hear critics say, sure, the state is rich, but the people are still poor. $5,000 a year is nothing compared to America, but that is where they're wrong. You have to look at what the money actually buys. When you adjust for purchasing power parity, which measures the real value of money, the average income in Tamil Nadu jumps to over $22,300. That means the average person in the state is effectively richer than the average citizen in 70% of the countries on earth, including places like Mexico, Brazil, and China. However, here's the paradox. Conventional economic wisdom says that to build a massive economy, you need strict fiscal discipline, you need to cut spending. Yet Tamil Nadu gives away free laptops, free food, free bus rides, and even free televisions. It has one of the highest debts in the country. So how does this work? How did a state that was once as poor as Bihar transform into an industrial juggernaut? Today we are decoding the Tamil Nadu model. To understand Tamil Nadu's success, you first have to understand India's failure. Historically, every superpower followed a specific path. The US, China, Japan, they all transitioned from farming to factories and finally to offices. It is the natural law of economics. But India tried to cheat the system. After independence, India jumped straight from farming to IT services. We became the back office of the world. And don't get me wrong, this created wealth, but it created massive problem: inequality. You can't take a farmer with basic education and turn him into a software engineer overnight. It's impossible. However, Tamil Nadu realized something the rest of the country missed. They realized that the bridge out of poverty isn't a computer, it's a factory. In the 1950s, Tamil Nadu was just an agricultural state. The Thanjavur district was known as the rice bowl. The economy was simple: you grow crops or you starve. But the state's leader made a radical choice. They decided to grow steel alongside rice. In 1961, they didn't just build a textile mill, they built the heavy vehicle factory in Awadi to manufacture battle tanks for the Indian Army. Around the same time, Ashok Leland set up shop to make the trucks. This decision forced an agrarian society to learn how to operate heavy machinery. You can't run a tank factory with the same mindset as a rice paddy. It created a culture of industrial discipline. This is why today, while other states fight over IT parks, Tamil Nadu is the #1 state for factory, hosting over 40,000 of them. But building a factory is the easy part. Filling it with workers, that is where the real genius lies. You see, you can't run a precision engineering plant with illiterate workers. Let's look at the numbers. Last year, Tamil Nadu allocated about 6.5 billion to education. Now you might say, well, Bihar spent 7.5 billion. That's more. But look closer. It's about execution. In states like Jharkhand, teacher absenteeism hits 46%. In Madhya Pradesh, there are horror stories of teachers not showing up for 23 years. In Tamil Nadu, absenteeism is just 15%. They didn't just build school, they enforced them. They standardized the syllabus under the Samachar Kalvi program. And then there's continuity. In most democracy, when a new government comes, they scrap the old government's projects just to be petty. In Tamil Nadu, the politics are fierce. DMK and AIADMK are bitter rivals. However, when it comes to development, they act surprisingly mature. The midday meal scheme started decades ago. Instead of scrapping it, subsequent chief ministers like MGR and Jayalalitha expanded it. They added eggs, then they added breakfast. The result? A gross enrollment ratio of 47% in higher education. That is almost double the national average. They built an army of engineers before the IT boom even started. Now you might think, oh, Apple just chose Tamil Nadu because of the education. But the truth is much darker. The story of Apple in India actually begins with a massive failure. In 2014, the world's largest mobile phone plant run by Nokia in Sri Perumbudur shut down due to a tax dispute. Over 20,000 people lost their income overnight. The factory turned into a ghost town. It was an industrial catastrophe. In any other state, that factory would have been rusted away. However, Tamil Nadu saw an opportunity. The building was there, the supply chain was there, and most importantly, 20,000 trained workers were sitting at home. The government aggressively pitched this dead ecosystem to Apple's supplier. In 2019, Salcom, a major Apple component maker, took over the old Nokia campus. They didn't have to build from scratch. They just had to turn the lights back on. This is the concept of plug-and-play ecosystem. When Foxconn and Tata Electronics arrived later, they weren't entering a jungle, they were entering a machine that was already oiled and ready to run. But even with factories running, you have a math problem. If you only employ men, you are leaving 50% of your economy engine idle. In India, factories are traditionally seen as man's work. Safety is a concern and shifts are long. As a result, female participation in the industrial workforce across India is a dismal 20%. Tamil Nadu looked at this and said, we need the women. Years ago, they legalized night shift for women, something many states still ban, but laws aren't enough. They solved the logistic. They built massive hostels exclusively for women, run by women, right next to the factories. They provided childcare, they offered transport, and when the factory's owner still hesitated, the government offered a 10% subsidy specifically for hiring women. The data is mind-blowing. Today, 43% of all female factory workers in India are working in this one state. When you buy an iPhone, there is a very high chance this was assembled by a woman in Tamil Nadu who is earning a salary that has lifted her entire family out of poverty. Another genius move was ignoring the capital city trap. If you look at Karnataka, almost all growth is in Bengaluru. If you look at Maharashtra, it's Mumbai. But Tamil Nadu decentralized everything. They created what economists call cluster economics. Look at Tirupur. It's a small city, yet it churns out 90% of India's cotton knitwear export. If you are wearing a cotton t-shirt right now, there is a high probability it came from this one town. Look at Coimbatore. They started making water pumps for farmers in the 1930s. Today they supply nearly half of India's pump and motors. Look at Ambur. It is the leather capital. This creates a lock-in effect. If you want to make a shoe, you go to Ambur because the leather is there, the soles are there, and the laces are there. Companies can't leave because leaving means losing access to this super efficient supply chain. Now we have to address the elephant in the room, the critics. People say, but wait, isn't Tamil Nadu just buying its success? They give away free laptops, free bicycles, free color TVs, free mixers, and cash handouts. In economics, we usually call populism, and it destroys economies. Look at Sri Lanka, look at Venezuela. However, economists are starting to realize that Tamil Nadu is doing something different. They distinguish between consumption freebies and capacity freebies. Think about it. If you give family cash, they might just spend it. That's consumption. But if you give a girl a free bicycle, she can travel to a high school 5 kilometers away. That increases literacy. If you give a student a free laptop, they learn coding. That creates a software engineer. If you give a free bus ride to a woman, she can travel to a factory to work. That increases GDP. These welfare schemes act as a ladder, not crutches, and the companies love it. Why? Because a healthy, educated workforce that can commute easily makes for better employees. So the question is it perfect? Is Tamil Nadu the utopia of the East? No, absolutely not. Beneath the 11% growth and the shiny factories, there are cracks in the foundation. First, there is debt. All these welfare schemes cost massive amounts of money. Tamil Nadu's debt to GDP ratio is hovering around 32%. For context, the Finance Commission recommends keeping it below 20%. They're borrowing from the future to pay for the present. Then there is an alcohol problem. It's an open secret that a huge chunk of state's revenue comes from the state-run sale of alcohol. TASMAC. It's a cruel irony. The government funds welfare schemes for the poor by selling alcohol to the poor. However, the biggest threat isn't money, it's time. Tamil Nadu is aging fast because they educated their women and improved healthcare. The fertility rate was dropped to 1.4, well below the replacement level of 2.1. This is the developed world problem. Just like Japan or South Korea, Tamil Nadu will soon have more old people than young workers. They have a limited window, maybe 10 to 15 years, to get rich before they get old. That is why they are now pivoting to the future. They have released a new policy to target semiconductors and space. They don't just want to assemble the phone anymore. They want to manufacture the brain, the chips inside it. Now, despite the debt, despite the aging population, the Tamil Nadu story is arguably the most important economic case study in India right now. It proves you don't have to choose between being business friendly and being poor friendly. You can build 40,000 factories and feed every child in school. You can invite Foxconn and empower rural women. While the rest of the world looks at China plus one strategy, Tamil Nadu is raising its hand and saying we are the plus one. The question isn't whether Tamil Nadu can sustain this. The question is why in states like Bihar, West Bengal, copying this model. What do you think? Is the freebie model sustainable in the long run, or will the debt eventually catch up with them? Let me know in the comments. And if you learned something new about the economic engine of the South, hit the subscribe button